Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about the news that came out recently that the Umbrella Academy is returning for a fourth and final season. And I think the showrunner, I want to say, said something a little while back about that they felt like the next coming season, if there was going to be one, would most likely be the last. So I don't know whether that's just from where they've written the story or whether they feel like they've told the story that they want to tell. Once again, I don't know where we are in comparison to where the comic is, because like I said, I think the comic stopped and then started up again. So once again, I'm not well versed in the comics, so do correct me in the comments down below. But I am really interested to see where things kind of go, because obviously seeing how things end. Obviously, I should also state from the beginning, I'm most likely going to be talking about spoilers for season 3. So if you've not seen season 3, do not watch this. But considering where everything ended up, obviously they're in a new universe. Obviously they kind of reboot the universe, but not even just that. They kind of rebooted and kind of culminated everything, kind of almost like, I guess you could say like Crisis on Infinite Earths and Secret Wars to some extent, like collapsing everything onto one Earth, technically speaking, kind of in one universe, considering like, oh, like not only are do they exist in this timeline, but also do the Sparrows and stuff like that, right? So I'm curious to see. I would doubt that there's another universal reset. That was probably a one and done. And even if there was another one, probably Reginald still being alive and everything, and most likely he probably, like, Allison probably got what she wanted, but he probably already programmed what he wanted. So even when she killed him, he already had what he had preset in there. Who knows if he got everything he wanted in this universal reset, but we'll have to wait and see. But soon they'd be setting him up as kind of like the main antagonist, which, I mean, it would all be coming thematically full circle. I mean, the siblings have always had so much issues with their father. I mean, he literally killed Luther last season, so it's like, yeah, they have every reason to butt heads with their father. I mean, Klaus has every reason too, because it's like, well, he left you to die and everything. So they have every reason to kind of butt heads with their father. It's all started with him and everything that he's, I mean, he's the reason why they ended up the way they did. I guess he's fine with them not having powers because, well, he doesn't need them anymore. He got what he needed. Like, everything was an end result to get to the, through the Oblivion door or whatever, to get to that other world so he could do the reset. And that's all that was meant to be, right? So he was just setting the stage and had to play the long game waiting for that to happen. So once again, whether the original Reginald would have ever pulled the trigger on that, who knows? But the Sparrow Reginald definitely did. We don't know if OG timeline Reginald was ever going to go down that route. Maybe he was. I mean, he did the most roundabout ways to get the family back together, so it seems like that was probably going to be the end result regardless. It is going to be interesting that they do butt heads with their father, considering the fact is that, well, he's an alien, so he has an advantage over them when they have no powers, which, once again, I'm assuming no one in this, like, there aren't any other kids. Like, the Sparrows don't have their powers, neither do the Umbrellas. Not unless this time he's like, you know what, I'm gonna find other kids, but I'm like, I doubt that. I think, like I said, I think he's completely through with that. He got everything he wanted in this universe, so it's kind of like, what that necessarily looks like, we'll have to see. But talking about, like, you know, not having a universal reset, I am curious what is going to force them to potentially reset this universe, or what's going to make them do things differently, because they are potential. Once again, it's a conversation I had in my Thoughts and Theories video about what the new timeline meant. The whole thing with 5 meeting his future self, who became the leader of the commission, saying like, do not save the world. So I think, and I said it at the time, I think even this is part of that journey leading to 5 becoming who he is then. That basically he will have to undo everything and become that 5 in the future that he saw. Like, that still is his future potentially. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that future has been completely removed from the board because the whole point was to not save the world, but that might mean undoing everything. Like, I don't know, like, how far of a reset potentially they'd have to go to kind of like be the end result of this, you know? Because you'd want the family to walk away happy, but who knows if, I mean, the family's so divided, and after everything that went down last season, like, who knows if they'd even come back together. Allison, who knows how the rest of the family's necessarily going to feel. It's like, right, you reset everything, so it's cool, but you were on some, you were wilding out last season. You were super out of pocket. So you kind of, it is that thing of like, right, you kind of got what you want. Once again, everything kind of fell on Victor's shoulders. Are like, cool, you're the reason why the world's kind of ended multiple times. But it's like, yeah, but you kind of played a hand in things this time around. And it's like, I said this previously, it's going to be interesting because like any problems that exist are all going to be on Allison, but it's also still going to fall on Victor because Victor's the one that had the chance to take Allison out to stop Allison but chose not to. So I mean, the end result still worked out, sure, but who knows like what the issues are going to be in this universe, if there's going to be any. Like, yeah, it was a universal reset, but maybe that is too much. Like, all this kind of culminating in one universe, it's breaking. Maybe, like, I mean, it seems like since it's a universal reset that the boundaries of reality and what should and shouldn't be, like, should be fine. Considering like it, but maybe things will start to unravel. I mean, the apocalypse is followed in time and time again, so who's to say it won't follow them yet again to this universe? But I don't think it's going to necessarily be that apocalypse. I think it's going to be one of Reginald's own making that's going to be this world's undoing. How are you going to operate with the two different bins that exist in this universe? Like, what is that going to look like? Good Umbrella Ben versus Sparrow Ben and them eventually meeting. I mean, does Umbrella Ben remember everything or not? It's going to be the big question. I'm also curious, are we going to, and I might have brought this up in my thoughts and theories when I talked about a potential season 4. I am curious, will Victor kind of like end up making the sacrifice in the end? Because it feels like it all started with Victor. It makes sense for it to all kind of end with Victor to some, because Victor is the strongest of all of them, and so it feels like it's up to him to kind of like, especially because he's always been the outsider to the family, you know, and it's just like, has always kind of like taken the most shit from the family too. So it feels like Victor making this sacrifice in the end, just because Victor's the one that's like, no, we should stick together, and everyone's just breaking apart, going their own way. But you know they have to get their powers back. But I am curious, is it going to end up being a situation like, will they ever get their exact powers back, or will it be kind of like a Misfits thing where like we jumble powers? Spoilers for the show Misfits, like at some point there's a character get introduced who could take powers and give powers, and basically a lot of the characters end up with different powers than they originally started with. So I'm curious, like I said, Victor's the most powerful. I mean, that might still be ingrained in Victor, even if Victor gets another ability, or you know, maybe the means that gave them powers, like they find it again when they confront Reginald, and they have to all get their powers back to see this through, especially 5. I mean, you'd almost think 5 would be the pinnacle one because he is the one that can time travel and everything, but Victor has been at the center of everything to some extent. Once again, both apocalypses, God. The one in season 1 and the one in season 2. And so they're all kind of responsible for what, well, to be fair, as like I was about to say, they're all responsible for the one in 3, but it's like, no, it goes back to Victor, because Victor didn't take all the power from Harlan. So it's an interesting thing to me, because I can't even fully imagine like what the final season is going to look like, where we start, how we even get to the end, like what journey they will get on, like what will be the thing that brings them together. I feel like it has to be their father, because it's like, right, his death is what fully brought them back together again. You know, once again, that Reginald even said it last season, the thing that brings this family together is he was hoping a wedding would, but it's like, right, I guess a death will, just like it did in season 1, you know. So it makes sense for it to all kind of come full circle in that regard as well. I keep talking about potentially resetting everything, but who's to say everything gets reset? Like, what if this is the one and only true timeline going forward? You make it so that it's just about protecting this world, because the universal reset is going. It's like, we have to make this count. This is the last one, because if we screw up, it is over. There's no do-overs, especially because at this point they have no powers. So like, we need to make this stick. So it might be about like saving the world, but maybe it isn't about, you know, resetting things. That this is their world going forward. I'm curious like how that, you know, complications of what, you know, Allison did resetting the universe and everything. I'm curious, will there ever be a personal like conflict, you know what I'm saying, like of, oh, like people finding out what you did, not like the general public, but some of the people in her life, like Ray and Claire, like finding out about what she did. Probably not, but you know, because she's definitely not going to want to do anything that could tamper. I mean, once again, we saw her going buck wild last season, so like she can probably go even wilder this final season if anything threatens keeping Ray and Claire in her life, because she's not, that's like, she wants to have nothing to do with any of this, but she won't have much of a choice, I think, when the time comes. It doesn't seem like any of their adventures happened in this timeline necessarily, so you would assume like that would mean like the handler isn't dead. So she's probably like running things. Maybe she eventually got the position that Five used to have. Like I said, it's just like, this is where my brain's spiraling a little bit, because I have no idea what to even fully expect from this season, where things kind of ended. It's like, it could go so many different directions, but I'm so excited to see where the final season takes us, how the Umbrella Academy eventually wraps up. Obviously, these are just some of my thoughts. I'd love to get to know yours in the comments down below. Do you agree with some of the stuff I brought up? Do you disagree? What are your own thoughts about things? How would you want it to end? Especially if you have read the comic books. You don't have to spoil anything, but let me know, at the very least, generally speaking, where we are in the show, is that generally in line with certain elements of the show, so you have a better, maybe some people who've read the comic have a much better idea of where we're going, or has the show pulled away so much from the comic that it's kind of up in the air even where it will go. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.